Level 1. A world without them. Before you learn what it's like to be a garbage collector in America, let's run a little thought experiment. Imagine that tomorrow morning, every sanitation worker, every street sweeper, every landfill operator in the United States simply doesn't show up to work. Day 1, you don't even notice. Day 2, trash cans on the sidewalks start overflowing and plastic bags spill out onto the asphalt. Day 3, the smell becomes unbearable and rats come out of the sewers in broad daylight. Day 5, the city starts choking. Hospitals can't remove medical waste. Restaurants shut down because health inspectors padlock the doors. Day 7, we're looking at an epidemiological emergency. Flies, bacteria, and rotting organic matter turn the streets into a biohazard zone. This isn't science fiction. This is reality. In 1968, New York City's sanitation workers went on strike, and the city turned into a dump in 9 days. The mayor had to declare a state of emergency and call in the National Guard. 10,000 tons of garbage per day. That's how much New York City alone produces every single day. From society's perspective, these people are the invisible foundation of civilization. Without them, it's not the economy that collapses. It's not politics. It's basic hygiene, the thing everything else stands on. Every time you toss a bag into a bin and instantly forget about it, a massive, well-oiled machine of real human beings kicks into gear behind the scenes, doing the dirtiest job on the planet for you. Now, be honest, have you ever actually thought about where your trash goes after you throw it out? Or does garbage just disappear like magic and you're totally fine with that? Drop your answer in the comments, because the answer to this question defines everything that comes next. Level 2. The can collector. This is the lowest unofficial rank in the garbage hierarchy, and you don't need an education, documents, or a permit to be here. In every major American city, there are people who head out each morning with shopping carts and hit every trash can in sight, looking for aluminum cans and plastic bottles. In states like California, New York, and Michigan, there's a deposit system. You get 5 to 10 cents for every can you return. Sounds like nothing, but a person collecting cans full-time brings home $15 to $30 a day. It's brutal, humiliating work. You're digging through other people's garbage. Pedestrians ignore you, and no insurance covers your cuts from broken glass. But these people are the very first link in the recycling chain. Without them, thousands of tons of aluminum and plastic would go straight to the landfill every year instead of becoming raw material again. According to the Container Recycling Institute, states with deposit systems recycle up to 70% of containers, and without the system, barely 30%. These invisible people with shopping carts are literally saving the ecosystem, and society pays them with contempt. If tomorrow you lost everything, your job, your home, your documents, and the only way to eat was collecting cans from the trash, would you roll a cart out onto the street knowing your former coworkers might see you? Or is hunger versus pride a choice you're not ready to make yet? Write it below. There's no right answer here. Level 3. The helper on the truck. This is the first official, paid rank in America's waste industry. And here's how you get in. You just need to be over 18, have the right to work in the US, and be physically able to lift heavy loads. No diploma, no special training required. You walk into the local waste company's office, fill out a form, pass a drug test, and a basic physical. If everything's clean, within a week, you're standing on the back step of a garbage truck at 4:30 in the morning. Your job title is helper or loader, and the deal is simple. You run alongside the route, grab containers, drag them to the truck, hook them to the lift mechanism, and sprint to the next one. On average, you lift and move 8 to 12 tons of garbage per shift with your own hands. That's harder than warehouse work because you're doing it outside, in the rain, in 100-degree heat, about 38 Celsius. and in freezing wind during winter. Starting pay is $30,000 to $35,000 a year, below the national average. But here's what most people don't know. A garbage collector in America is in the top 5 most dangerous jobs. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the fatality rate for waste collection workers is higher than for police officers. You can get crushed by the truck backing up, mangled by the container lift mechanism, or stuck by a needle from a syringe someone tossed into regular household trash. From society's standpoint, you're doing the job without which cities would literally drown in their own waste within a week. You are a living filter between civilization and chaos, and every single workday you protect the health of millions of people who will never know your name. If someone offered you a route starting at 430 a.m., hauling 12 tons of trash for $30,000 a year, would you take it for the sake of a steady job with health insurance? Or would you consider it beneath you? Be honest in the comments. We're pushing forward. Level 4. The truck driver. You've put in at least a year as a helper, and now you've earned the right to move up one step behind the wheel. But first, you need a CDL, a commercial driver's license, Class B, or for some trucks, Class A. It's a serious exam, written test, driving with a trailer, wet road braking, reversing through narrow alleys. Getting your CDL costs $1,500 to $5,000 out of your own pocket, but many waste companies will cover the training. If you sign a 2 to 3 year contract, getting a CDL is the best thing that can happen in a garbage career, because driver pay jumps to $50,000 to $70,000 a year. In major cities, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, experienced drivers earn up to $90,000 and even $100,000 with overtime. You're driving a machine that's 33 feet long, about 10 meters, weighing up to 64,000 pounds, roughly 29 tons, through tight residential neighborhoods where badly parked cars turn every corner into a puzzle. Modern automated trucks come with a mechanical arm. You pull up to the container, line up the claw using a joystick and cameras, grab the bin, and flip it into the hopper, all from the cab, without stepping out. But in older neighborhoods, with narrow streets and non-standard bins, you still have to get out and do everything by hand. The route starts between 4 and 5 a.m. and runs 8 to 12 hours. You service 800 to 1,200 homes per shift. From an infrastructure perspective, a garbage truck driver is a tactical operator whose work determines the logistics of an entire district. One missed route, and tomorrow the mayor's phone is blowing up with complaints. You quietly coordinate an entire team and directly contribute to the sanitary safety of tens of thousands of families. Hey, since you made it this far, I want to tell you something. Making videos like this isn't just opening a camera and hitting record. Behind every episode are hours of research, fact-checking, and sleepless nights. If you don't hit like and leave a comment, the YouTube algorithm will decide nobody cares about this video and bury it. The channel will suffocate without oxygen, just like a city without garbage collectors, and there won't be any new levels. That hurts me and it hurts you. I lose the ability to make content, and you lose your free source of levels and knowledge. So if you want more, just hit like, subscribe, and drop one word in the comments. That's our mutual insurance policy. Let's keep rolling. If you could sit behind the wheel of a garbage truck right now and earn $70,000 a year without a college degree, would you quit your current job for it? Or do you think you can't feel like a professional behind the wheel of a trash truck? Sound off below. These numbers surprise a lot of people. Level 5, the transfer station. The truck is full to the top. And now the trash doesn't go straight to the landfill. It heads to a transfer station. This is a massive covered warehouse the size of 2 football fields, where dozens of garbage trucks simultaneously dump their loads into huge concrete pits. Inside, it's deafening. The air is soaked with dust and the sour stench of rotting organics. And summer temperatures inside the building can hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit, about 49 Celsius. Transfer station workers are the next rank in the waste hierarchy. They operate front-end loaders and bulldozers, pushing mountains of trash toward compactor machines that crush the waste into dense bales for transport. Those bales then get loaded onto long-haul trailers or rail cars and shipped to the final destination, a landfill or a recycling plant. Pay at a transfer station runs $40,000 to $55,000 a year, plus overtime. The work here is less physically brutal than running routes, but psychologically heavier. You see exactly what people throw away. Workers say they regularly find cash, jewelry, working electronics, and things most people would dream of owning. From an environmental standpoint, the transfer station is a critical filter. This is where they separate what can be recycled from what's going to rot in a landfill for the next 100 years. The more efficiently this filter works, the fewer toxic substances leak into the soil and groundwater in your neighborhood. If you found out that transfer station workers regularly find thousands of dollars, jewelry, and even weapons in the trash, would that change the way you think about what you throw away? Or do you just not care what happens to your stuff after the garbage can? Tell me below. Level 6. The sorting plant. Bales from the transfer station arrive at MRF Materials recovery facility or sorting plant. This is the place that decides the fate of every single item you tossed into the blue recycling bin. A conveyor belt, hundreds of feet long, drags a stream of waste through a series of mechanical screens, magnets, optical scanners, and air separators. First, rotating discs separate flat items, paper, cardboard, from bulky ones, bottles, cans, containers. Then a giant electromagnet pulls everything ferrous out of the stream, tin cans, lids, staples. After that, a device called an eddy current separator kicks in, pushing out aluminum. Those same cans the guy with the shopping cart collected back in level 2. Optical sensors running on infrared identify different types of plastic and trigger air cannons that fire precision blasts of air, knocking the right bottles off the conveyor into separate bins. But even with all this technology, 20 to 30% of the sorting is still done by hand. Real human beings stand along the conveyor belt for 8 hours straight, pulling items out of a filthy stream of garbage that the machines couldn't identify. They work in gloves, masks, and safety goggles. And even then, they regularly get cuts, needle sticks, and contact with chemical waste. A sorter's pay is $30,000 to $40,000 a year, and turnover at this position is one of the highest in the industry. From the planet's perspective, this plant is the last chance to give things a second life. Every ton of recycled aluminum saves 14,000 kilowatts of electricity, enough to power an average American home for over a year. Every ton of recycled paper saves 17 trees. The hands of these invisible people on the conveyor belt are literally reducing the carbon footprint of an entire nation. If someone offered you 8 hours at a conveyor for $35,000 a year, sorting other people's trash with your hands, would you take it, knowing that every workday you save tons of resources from destruction? Or would you decide there are cleaner ways to save the planet? Vote in the comments. Level 7. The landfill. Everything that couldn't be recycled ends up here. At a sanitary landfill, an average American landfill covers 600 to 1,000 acres. That's the size of a small town. The United States operates roughly 2,600 active sanitary landfills, and every day more than 380,000 tons of waste gets buried in them. But a modern landfill isn't a hole full of garbage. It's a high-tech engineering structure. The bottom of the site is lined with multiple layers of clay and a synthetic membrane just 2 millimeters thick to keep toxic liquids, called leachate, from seeping into the groundwater. A network of drainage pipes collects that leachate and sends it to treatment facilities. When a truck dumps its load, a bulldozer operator, the key worker at any landfill, spreads the trash in thin layers and compresses it with a special compactor roller, weighing 60 tons, about 54 metric tons. Each layer of waste gets covered with a 6-inch, 15-centimeter layer of soil or engineered cover to control the smell, keep birds away, and prevent light debris from blowing in the wind. As organic matter decomposes inside the landfill, it produces methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. Modern landfills capture that methane through a network of wells and pipes and use it to generate electricity. Over 500 landfills in the U.S. already convert their garbage gas into power that feeds thousands of homes. A bulldozer operator at a landfill earns $50,000 to $65,000 a year, and landfill engineers pull in $70,000 to $90,000. From an environmental science perspective, a landfill isn't the end of the road. For waste, it's a slow-motion chemical bomb that will react with its surroundings for decades and centuries. That's why every landfill is legally required to be monitored for a minimum of 30 years after closing. The people who work here aren't just burying trash, they're managing a ticking ecological bomb, protecting drinking water and air for millions. If you found out the landfill near your house will be active for another 20 years and monitored for 30 more after that, would you start thinking about how much garbage you produce? Or is it easier to just not think about it and keep living the way you always have? Honest answer below. It matters more than you think. Level 8, Operations Manager. You've walked the path. From a helper on the running board to the person who manages an entire collection district. Route Supervisor, then Operations Manager. That's the one who coordinates dozens of routes, hundreds of workers, and a fleet of trucks worth millions of dollars. Your morning starts at 3:30 when you check that every driver is present. Every truck is operational, and no route goes uncovered. If a driver calls in sick, you either redistribute the load or get behind the wheel yourself because a route cannot be skipped. You're responsible for OSHA compliance, the Federal Workplace Safety Agency, and for making sure none of your people get hurt on shift. Every accident means an investigation, a fine, and your personal liability. An operations manager earns $75,000 to $120,000 a year, depending on the company and region. From an industry standpoint, you're the invisible commander who turns the chaos of waste logistics into a precise, predictable system. Not a single resident in your district even suspects you exist, but without you, the entire system collapses in 48 hours. If you were given control of a waste district with a multi-million-dollar budget, would you feel proud of this invisible but mission-critical role? Or do you need a job where people see you and praise you? Choose below. Level 9, Owner of the Trash Empire. At the very top of the garbage pyramid sit people you will never see standing next to a dumpster. Waste Management Inc., the largest waste company in America, generates over $20 billion in annual revenue. Republic Services, the second largest, pulls in around $15 billion. Their stocks trade on the New York Stock Exchange, and they consistently make the list of the most reliable dividend companies in the country. The CEO of Waste Management earns over $8 million a year. But here's what's truly mind-blowing. The waste business is considered one of the most stable and recession-proof industries in America. People stop buying cars, stop eating out, stop flying, but they never stop throwing away trash, even during the Great Recession of 2008. Waste company revenue dropped only 3 to 4%, while banks and construction giants lost half their value. Starting your own waste business in America is possible with a single truck and a contract with a small municipality. Startup investment runs $150,000 to $300,000 for a used garbage truck, insurance, and licenses. Profit margins in waste hauling sit at 20 to 35% higher than most restaurants and retailers. Many small waste company owners started as helpers on the back of a truck and built million-dollar businesses in 10 to 15 years. From an economic perspective, the waste industry is one of the few sectors where the path from the very bottom to company owner is real and documented by hundreds of success stories. This is an industry where a working person without a degree can build an empire if they're willing to do what everyone else turns away from in disgust. If you could start any business from scratch right now, would you pick the waste business? Stable, recession-proof, 30% margins, knowing that people around you would call you the trash king? Or would you rather open a shiny, prestigious startup that has a 90% chance of crashing within 2 years? Pick your rank in the comments while I open the archives of our investigation. Jimmy's Archive. Detective Jimmy clicks the spring on his worn-out ballpoint pen, leaning back in his chair across from a wall covered in photos of industrial zones and old garbage route maps. Snail carefully slides a heavy folder toward him labeled Economics of Waste. Jimmy takes a sip of strong black coffee, sets the mug on a stack of papers, and starts his breakdown. He says the most staggering fact about America is that the country produces 292 million tons of municipal solid waste per year. That's more than any other country in the world per capita. An average of 4.5 pounds, about 2 kilograms of trash per person per day. Snail silently opens a second folder labeled Psychology of Stigma. Jimmy wipes his glasses with the edge of his shirt and explains, sociological studies consistently show that the garbage collector profession ranks in the bottom 3 in public opinion surveys on job prestige, but in terms of actual pay, stability, and benefits, health insurance, pension plan, paid vacation, the job is objectively better than 60% of office positions that are considered prestigious. Jimmy taps his pen on the desk and adds, the average American garbage collector with a CDL earns more than the average elementary school teacher in 35 out of 50 states. He wipes his glasses one more time and says, if you want to understand how the economics of waste really work, open Google right now and search Waste Management Industry Revenue USA 2026. And if you want to know why society looks down on a job that literally saves civilization from epidemics, type Psychology of Stigmatized Occupations, Dirty Work.
Author's commentary. When I started digging into this topic, I expected to find a simple story about people who haul trash. Instead, I found an entire parallel economy that runs while we sleep. I was genuinely blown away that a garbage truck driver in New York earns more than the average marketing specialist, and his job is more stable than half the programmers at startups. But what hit me hardest was one fact: the waste business is one of the few in America where a person with no degree, no connections, no starting capital can begin on the back step of a truck and 15 years later own a company, doing millions in revenue. And yet we keep calling this job shameful. We look down on the people who do the thing without which our cities would turn into the Middle Ages in 9 days. Maybe the real shame isn't being a garbage collector. Maybe it's looking down on one from an office chair while earning less than they do. Take care of the people who do the dirty work for you. Without them, everything falls apart. And if you have something to say about this, head over to the community tab on our channel. That's where we discuss these questions together, share opinions, argue, and honestly break down who actually holds this world on their shoulders. See you on the next level of the game.